Boldwood presents A Midnight Kiss on Ever After Street, written by Jaimie Admans and read by Emma Noakes. The moral right of the author has been asserted. This performance is owned by Boldwood. Chapter 1. Absolutely no one shall go to the ball. I look down at the gold-edged ticket in my hand and try not to let the wave of disappointment show on my face. I'd known what my aunt's reaction would be, but ever the optimist, I still thought it was worth asking when that fancy embossed card came through our door. It's all I thought about since we heard that they were going to open up the castle one last time for a masquerade ball. It felt like my heart turned grey when the announcement about it going up for sale was posted, and it didn't start glowing red again until we received notice that the seller was going to hold a fairy tale ball to showcase the castle to potential buyers and, as a gesture of goodwill towards the locals, everyone would be invited.
No one on Ever After Street is going to the ball, Aunt Ebony continues. It's the principle of the thing, soulless, heartless millionaire businessmen thinking they can swan in here with their gimmicks and buy our castle. We're all boycotting it. That includes you, Sadie.
Rumours are swirling that an offer has been made on the castle by a business conglomerate who want to knock it down and build a supermarket in its place, which would be catastrophic for Ever After Street and all those who live and work here, like us. I'm a seamstress at the Cinderella shop, one of many fairy tale-themed shops on the street. We're a dress shop with a unique guarantee. You'll find love while wearing one of our dresses, or get your money back. We don't know who's buying it yet. The seller must be hoping this ball will attract more offers, but it isn't our castle. It's, well, no one knows who owns it or where they are, but
that's not the point. The castle is a huge part of Ever After Street. There should have been some legislation in place that prevented it from being sold to whoever wanted it. This ball is solely to paper over the cracks where they'll cut planning permission corners. You mark my words. This will be the end of Ever After Street itself. A fairy tale-themed shopping centre in the foothills of an Audi doesn't have quite the same ring to it.
It might be a Waitrose, my cousin Scarlett suggests. We don't know which supermarket has made the offer yet. It might be something posh that appeals to a different type of visitor.
At which point, they will have spent all their money up there.
Aunt Ebony waves a hand in the direction of the castle nestled in the green hills at the end of the street.
And we'll have none left to spend down here in our shops. And no one's mentioned access roads yet. They'll tear up half the trees and plonk their pollution-filled road right through the middle of the full moon forest. A supermarket will be the end of everything that's good about Ever After Street. We'll be lucky if they don't bulldoze the lot of us and turn us into a supermarket car park. None of us are going to play nicey-nicey with them at their silly ball. We're not going to give them the satisfaction. We're going to show them that no matter who owns that castle, they can't throw a fancy ball and then sell it to someone who will serve us all with eviction notices the next day. These shops are people's livelihoods. A supermarket is not welcome here.
Judging by how many dresses I've made over the last few weeks, a lot of people are going to the ball. I stand by the shop door and stare longingly down the road, towards the greenery of the forest and the castle hiding in the trees. I love that castle. It's been part of my life for as long as I can remember. My mum filled my childhood with stories of how she'd met my dad there many years before, when she was delivering handmade dresses to the Viscountess, and he was an accountant to the Viscount who'd owned the castle back then. It's been empty since I was a child, gradually falling into disrepair and being swallowed up by the trees that surround it on the hillside.
It will put us all out of business. This place is a quiet countryside haven. Children can roam free because of the safety of the pedestrianised street. People can wander, meander around the shops, and then head into the woods for a picnic or a paddle in the river or hike up to the castle. Ebony is still ranting. It's just a ball. It's a nice gesture, a nod towards the origins of the castle and the importance of keeping the fairy tale aspect of Ever After Street intact. I read that bit from the gold text printed on the card in my hand. As far as we know, the sale hasn't gone through yet. The supermarket moguls who are sniffing around and sizing up the area might go to the ball, realise their supermarket doesn't fit here, and that will be the end of it. I sound far too hopeful for my own good. The castle is still up for sale. Any potential buyer could have a damning effect on Ever After Street and the lives of the people who own shops here.
Honestly, Sadie, you're so naive, my aunt snaps. Life is not a fairy tale. This is not some magical ball where a pumpkin is going to turn into a glittering carriage and rodents are bibbity-bobbity-booed into becoming the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. You're not going to meet Prince Charming and live happily ever after. This ball is a con that serves no purpose except trying to curry favour when it comes to the local council deciding which shops will be demolished first, when the supermarket needs wider access roads or extra parking space. I don't want to meet Prince Charming. Cinderella would have been better off living a happy life with her animal friends than marrying a prince who only recognised her by her shoe size. I run my fingers over the thick white card. I just want to see the castle. It could be my last chance. No one's seen inside it for decades, and no one ever will again if they knock it down. Sadie could go as a spy, Scarlett says. Go undercover on behalf of the shopkeepers of Ever After Street so she can report back on what they're up to. Maybe she could go as a saboteur. Chat to any businessy-looking types and covertly drop into conversations how quiet the area is, terrible for business. Or lament loudly about a flood risk due to proximity to the river. Ask everyone if they remember what they were doing on the day the sewers backed up and the drains overflowed. Scarlett really is dedicated to the cause.
Absolutely not. I forbid it. Aunt Ebony stamps her foot for good measure. All the shopkeepers on this street are standing against them as a whole. We will be noticeable through our absence. It's a masked ball. No one will know who stands against them or doesn't because no one will recognise anyone, Scarlett snaps. I don't care. We must all stand together. She's one step away from ribbiting along to Paul McCartney and the Frog Chorus. Loads of people are going, I say. Admittedly, none of them work on Ever After Street, though. The unknown seller has invited everyone on this side of the Wye Valley. Everyone's talking about it. There'll be plenty of photos for you to look at online afterwards, won't there? You can live vicariously through those. I seem to do nothing but live vicariously these days. For once, I'd like to do something just for me. Something that wasn't dictated by someone else. It's not the same. I want to experience it, to see the magic that my mum once saw. Aunt Ebony's face softens at the mention of her late sister, and then quickly hardens again. You're too old to be like your mother was, Sadie. Always with her head in the clouds sewing love into whimsical dresses and daydreaming of handsome princes and enchanted castles. The love she sewed into her dresses is our entire business model. You don't usually complain. You made it into a guarantee. You'll find love in one of our dresses or get your money back. Exactly. It's the kind of whimsy nonsense that paying customers lap up. But it's whimsy nonsense with a price tag, and you know me, I can get behind anything with a price tag. Now, come on, girls. No more daydreaming of armoured knights and fair maidens. That castle is nothing more than a tumble-down load of old stone. It's been abandoned for so long that the ball attendees will be lucky if the whole thing doesn't fall down on top of them. It'll be mouldy and musty, undoubtedly haunted, and probably full of bats, too. You'll be more likely to find Dracula lurking inside than Prince Charming. You don't want to go there, Sadie.
I look longingly through the door towards the hills again. For the first time in my life, this week the castle has been a hive of activity. Teams of workmen are up there preparing for the ball. The tallest trees have been cut back, the windows have been opened and cleaned, the stone walkway jet-washed until it glitters in the late April sunlight. Any lurking bats would surely have been chased out. I do want to go there. Even if Dracula is the most interesting thing I find. I can't imagine the castle being demolished without me ever having seen inside. Disillusionment is creeping into everything I do lately, and the promise of a ball is the first thing that's made life feel magical again, as though the fairy tales I used to believe in could come true after all. And I can't give up on it that easily. I'm so lost in daydreaming that I don't notice my aunt has stalked across the shop until she whisks the invitation out of my hand with such force that it causes a paper cut across my index finger.
I have an important business trip to prepare for. I don't want to hear another word about this.
She tries to screw the invite up, but the cardboard is too thick, so she shoves it angrily onto a shelf underneath the counter instead. There's a ceremonial burning of ball invitations by the shopkeepers on Ever After Street scheduled for next week. And I get it. I do. The castle being demolished and the supermarket built in its place will be disastrous for Ever After Street. We're the Disneyland of the retail industry. A cobbled, trafficless street filled with fairy tale-themed shops, a perfect mix of entertainment for children and retail therapy for tired parents. Everyone who works here runs a shop inspired by a different story, like the Tale as Old as Time bookshop or the Colours of the Wind Museum. There's an area at one end with a carousel, face painting, craft stalls, and a magician to entertain visitors. But the biggest draw to our little open-air shopping retreat is the castle in the hills. Steeped in mystery, turrets and spires visible for miles, like Disney's Sleeping Beauty castle on your doorstep in the Wye Valley, complete with ghost stories and myths and eternal gossip about what happened to the Viscount and Viscountess who disappeared so many years ago. Until this week, there's been no access to the castle, but the forestry that surrounds it is full of fairy doors and has a feel of tingling, twinkling magic and twisting maze-like paths that lead through the woods and to a gently flowing river and green fields of farmland on the other side. The perfect place to come for a day out. The demolition of the castle and the building of a supermarket will destroy the quiet little hideaway that is Ever After Street for good. I shouldn't want to go to this ball so badly, but oh, how I do! For years, I've looked up at the castle from the window of my shoebox-sized flat and imagined what it would be like to live in such a place. The glamour and the opulence, a world away from being hunched over my sewing machine in the early hours, with a mannequin's arm digging into my back, because there isn't room for it anywhere else.
Sadie?
Aunt Ebony snaps her fingers as if she's been trying to get my attention, and I blink to see Scarlet hiding a smirk at the faraway look on my face.
I said, have you got those samples I asked for?
My flight is first thing tomorrow morning. There's no time for dithering.
Tell us again why you're going all the way to Finland?
Scarlet asks her mum as I go and collect an armful of garment bags from the back room that doubles as my sewing workshop.
There's a Finnish reality TV star who might be interested in having some custom-made pieces for her wardrobe. I'd never heard of her, but apparently she's very big in Finland. It'll be great exposure for us.
Judging by the lack of material in these outfits, exposure of a different kind might be on the cards for her, too. I look at the zipped-up bags in distaste. Ebony's designs based on outfits she'd seen this reality TV star wearing. Hours of pointless work when it would have been no less effective to show sketches. But my aunt is big on exclusivity and going the extra mile. Unfortunately, going the extra mile is usually by first-class plane ticket via the business expenses account, which could do with an injection of cash to boost it up, as much as the bulbous ruffles in these garish garments. Every day I question how my life ended up like this, sewing dresses I hate for people who don't appreciate them, desperately wishing things were better, but without a clue how to make them so. And that's going to take a week, is it? Scarlett has the confidence to question, whereas I don't. Hand-delivering samples of our work is hardly necessary. You could have emailed her our brochure like any other dressmaker would have, and not forced Sadie into making those stupid samples which has put her behind on all her paid work. It's fine. I wave a hand while trying to keep hold of the garment bags. I appreciate Scarlett sticking up for me, but the last thing I want to do is anger my aunt. This shop will be mine one day, and I can run it however I want to. But until then, it's best to stay on Ebony's good side. I'm not one for rocking any boats. You just got back from Dubai, where you were trying to sell our dresses to some shaker. Last month, it was New York. In January, you had to go to Turkey. December, it was... I'm trying to grow our brand and take us global. She's a very big star in Finland, and being seen in one of our dresses could bring us international acclaim. Unless she takes one look at these creations and recoils in horror. They look like the luminous orange and lime green love children of something that's escaped from Lady Gaga's wardrobe and mated with a clown. I used to love this job, but it's been so long since I made a dress that I even liked. I'm not proud of my work anymore, and with the threat of the supermarket coming and how much the Cinderella shop is struggling to stay afloat as it is, Ever After Street is all about making our customers believe in fairy tale magic. But it's starting to feel like nothing magical will ever happen for me. Scarlett goes to say something else, but Ebony cuts her off. My sister tasked me with looking after the shop she started. It's my responsibility to put my all into doing that. We deserve to be a household name. She deserves it as her legacy. My mum does deserve a legacy. But her sister swanning around every country under the sun on expenses, trying to persuade celebrities to endorse the Cinderella shop, would never have been what she had in mind. Mum was happy here, making dresses for those who could afford it, or doing alterations for those who already had dresses they loved, but needed a better fit. She didn't want global fame or to see her designs in the pages of OK magazine. She just wanted the people she made clothes for to be happy. And you? Ebony taps her hand on the counter and then starts wrangling the garment bags out of my arms and into her own. No more of this nonsense. Get your head out of that castle and into your work, or you'll never get caught up with our paying customers. Yes, Ebony. I sound like a well-trained parrot. If parrots could use sewing machines, maybe that's what I'd be. I go and hold the door open for her. The garment bags are so puffy that she has to negotiate the doorway a few times before she finally gets through it. When she's gone, I close the door and meet Scarlett's eyes, and we both let out a sigh of relief. I love my aunt, but we've been at nothing but loggerheads lately, and no one can deny that life is a lot easier in the Cinderella shop when she's away. I'm majorly behind on work, so I leave Scarlett in charge of the shop and return to the sewing machine out the back to carry on stitching butterfly embellishments onto a floor-length navy to cream ombre dress made of silk chiffon, a last-minute order for the ball next week. Yet another thing that keeps pulling my mind back to that golden card underneath the counter. That night in my flat, I turn out the main light and sit on my window ledge with a book and a cup of tea. If I rest my head against the window pane, I can see the castle in the hills. It's a sight that always comforted me, even in the hardest of times. No matter how hard life seems some days, I can look at the castle and still believe that a fairy tale will find us all someday. It's a sentinel, looking over the street, protecting us, solid and strong and never changing, unlike so many other things in my life. For the first time ever, the castle is glowing back at me, and I have to blink a few times before I realise what I'm seeing. There's a light on. There's never been a light on before. Someone must be staying there. It's strange, but comforting in a way. Only a handful of the other shopkeepers live above their shops, and I always feel alone here at nights. But that glowing light from the castle makes me feel less lonely, and instead of reading, I rest my head against the window and look out, because there will come a day, really, really soon, when that glowing light is the fluorescent neon of a 24-hour supermarket. And that's just unthinkable. People say you get 3 great loves in a lifetime, and that castle is one of mine. The Cinderella shop is another one. I haven't found the third. Yet. Chapter 2. You're going to that ball. I lift my forehead from the front window and wipe at the smear it's left on the glass as I look over my shoulder at Scarlett. I can't, you know that. It's Sunday afternoon, and I'm hiding between the ruffles of the lurid dresses in the front window display, and leaning so close to the glass that there's a genuine possibility I'll have fused with it by the end of the day. It's been a week since the invitation arrived, and Ever After Street has been buzzing with people going back and forth to the castle. Teams of workmen and cleaners and decorators, caterers and wait staff preparing for the ball. The big event is tonight, and I can't stop thinking about it. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it all week, and I'm glad Ebony isn't here to see how many mistakes I've made, how many stitches I've run off in the wrong direction and had to unpick and re-sew. The invitation is still under the counter, calling to me like the gold leaf itself is glowing, like Sleeping Beauty's spinning wheel on her 16th birthday. Judging by the items we've seen being heave-hoed towards the castle, light-up acrylic pillars, crystal mountain ranges, and what appeared to be life-sized palm trees made of faux ostrich feathers, it's going to be such an impressive party that it would put any Disney movie to shame. I make wedding dresses and prom dresses and special occasion dresses for a living, and yet I've never had a special occasion to wear one. I've never been to a ball before. Even if it wasn't at the castle, it would still sound like a magical night. The kind of ball that every girl who grew up watching Disney's Cinderella dreamed of attending. Ebony's due back tonight at 8 o'clock, exactly the time the ball starts. She's going to expect me to be here. I'll cover for you. I'll tell her you've gone to bed early, or you've gone to visit your parents' grave, or we could say you've got food poisoning and are otherwise engaged in the bathroom. She's going to expect proof of that. If I'm not here when she gets back, she's going to know where I've gone. Then we'll arrange a tin of pea soup nicely in a bucket and leave it outside the bathroom door. She won't be able to argue with that. I laugh at the mental image, but Scarlett and I both know that nothing will fool Ebony. She's going to hand the shop over to me this year. I can't do anything to jeopardise that now. She's right on the brink of signing it over. She has to be. Scarlett scoffs. Oh, please. How long has she been dangling that particular carrot? She's not going to hand this shop over to you while there's a business expenses account to wallow in. I love my mother dearly, but you have to stop trying to please her. Says the woman who won't even tell her you want to leave this shop and go full-time at hairdressing. Scarlett only works part-time at the Cinderella shop, covering the shop floor and running the business side of things, and she spends the rest of her time working at Rapunzel's hair salon down the street. Except in this case, Rapunzel is a long-haired man called Jackson, who also happens to be Scarlett's boyfriend. She She's been taking on more and more private clients and spends most mornings doing special occasion hairdos for wedding parties. That's different. She might disown me if she finds out I've studied business management for years, only to throw it all away to do superficial hairdressing nonsense Jackson has taught me into. Sadie, you're incredibly talented. Your dresses are as beautiful as your mum's were. But look at the hideous crap we've got on display. She indicates towards the front window, which has got 3 mannequins on one side, all wearing dresses Ebony has insisted I make. Flashy ruffles in clashing shades of neon pink, neon orange and banana yellow, with enough flounce to look like a hot air balloon has deflated on top of each mannequin. People call us the ugly sister shop, not the Cinderella shop. You can't keep doing everything she tells you to in the hopes she'll finally sign the shop over to you. I'm 35, and she's turning 65 in a couple of months. She must be wanting to slow down by now. I have to cling on to the hope that Ebony will give me the shop one day. I haven't worked this hard for this long, doing everything she asks of me, only for the Cinderella shop to never be mine. You've said the same thing at each of your big birthdays, 20, 25, 30, even 32, because she mentioned wanting to take up golf and you thought it was code for retiring rather than just an excuse to do less work. It's hard to imagine my mum doing less work than she currently does, but one thing we can be sure of is that she'll find a way. But if I don't do what she says, she'll never sign the shop over to me. I need her to trust me. Every time I alter the window display, she puts it back to how it was. She yells at me for trying to put my tasteful dresses at the front of the shop. We're barely doing any trade. People don't come in because there's nothing even vaguely appealing to entice them. Her insistence on celebrity endorsements is what's going to pull this place under. The creations that might appeal to slightly mad celebrities don't belong on display here. They've been known to make small children cry. Even pantomime dames have looked in and recoiled in horror at the brightness. We're losing customers because of her way of trying to gain customers, and she just can't see it. I sigh in frustration. It's heartbreaking to see my beloved shop floundering, and the one person who can do something about it simply won't hear it. Say that to her. And quickly. We're going under, Sadie. Our outgoings are higher than our incomings for the 10th month in a row. There's very little left in the coffers to keep us afloat. We need something to change, drastically. I know. I didn't expect Scarlett to approach the subject head on. We've been dancing around it for months, but it's true. We're running at a loss, treading water. I've already had to buy cheaper fabrics and cut other corners. How much worse is it going to get? Ebony doesn't listen, you know that. But she has to let me take over before it comes to that. The only thing keeping us afloat is the occasional injection of cash from the commissions she does get. This can't go on much longer. I need her to trust me enough to run the Cinderella shop as it used to be run. And going against her and all the other Ever After Street shopkeepers by going to that ball is not the way to build her trust in me. And then what? And then my life can begin. I can change things and turn this shop back into the sewing heaven it was when my mum and dad ran it. I can display the elegant dresses that I want to make and sell them for prices that normal people can afford. Get rid of this stupid guarantee that's wiping us out financially and the castle will be gone. If this sale goes ahead, you will never get to see that castle again. But you've got the rest of your life to win my mother back around. And that's only if you get found out. How am I not going to get found out? I'm the worst liar in the world, and I haven't been invited. That ticket is addressed to the owner of each shop, and I'm not the owner. It says you can bring a +1. I don't think you can go as a +1 if you haven't got the 1 to begin with. Scarlett screws up her face at the thought, and I can't help but smile at her determination. She's always been like a sister to me. I might have had the Cinderella-esque start of losing my parents and being taken in by my aunt, but I never got the cliched ugly stepsister part. Scarlett has been my best friend, cousin, and makeshift sister for as long as I can remember. I've never gone against my aunt's wishes before. But this ball, it feels like there's magic in the air every time I think about it. And when I let my mind drift, just for a second, I close my eyes and picture a magical night of dancing and pumpkin carriages and glass slippers, and then the shrill ring of my phone in my pocket shocks me out of my reverie, and I pull it out to see Ebony flashing on the screen. It's as if she could telepathically tell what I was thinking, and chose such stellar timing as a reminder that the ball isn't meant for me. Hello, Aunt Ebony. Why is she phoning my mobile on a Sunday afternoon? I quickly pull the phone away from my ear as the shrieking from the other end threatens to spontaneously burst an eardrum.
Would you believe my flight's been delayed?
She barks down the line, along with a few choice expletives. Delayed? I put her on speakerphone so Scarlett can hear too.
They won't even say why. Something about birds in the engine. Birds, for goodness sake. I was supposed to land at 7, but now my flight isn't even taking off until 8. I'm stuck in this hellhole for hours.
She swears at someone on the other end, presumably a member of the Finnish airport staff trying their best to appease her wrath. I'm sorry, Aunt Ebony, I say, but my eyes are on Scarlett's face, which has got a mischievous look creeping across it. What time do you expect to be back? I don't suppose we'll see you tonight, will we? It'll be too late. Scarlett jumps in before she can answer, waggling her eyebrows at me.
Yes, you flaming well will. I've got a commission from that reality star. An all-in-one catsuit. It's a little risque. Not your usual style, Sadie, but she wants to wear it for a red carpet event on
This Saturday. I don't have time to make a catsuit and ship it to Finland before Saturday. Ebony laughs.
You will when you see how little material is involved. And that's exactly why I'll be over tonight. My flight should land at 11, so I'll be there by 12. You need to get started on this right away.
Midnight, I groan. Catsuits at midnight. Is this what my life has come to? Instead of the glamorous ball gowns my mum sewed or the Disney princess-style wedding dresses that I used to design, I'm reduced to making lascivious jumpsuits during the witching hour.
There's no time to waste. She's paying top dollar, well, top euro, or whatever they have in Finland.
We're interrupted by another member of staff asking Ebony if she needs anything, who probably wasn't expecting the answer to be a screamed,
"What I want is my flight to take off on time."
Scarlett rolls her eyes.
I'll be over with the measurements and design sketches on my way home from the airport. Make sure you've got the coffee on, Sadie. It's going to be a long night.
She ends the call before I can protest. I let out another groan and my head drops forward until my forehead bangs against the front window, my eyes on an ice sculpture of the Eiffel Tower as a team of decorators wheel it past. Isn't the universe a wonderful thing? What? I ask Scarlett without lifting my head.
Sadie, tell me that's not a sign. Her flight's delayed. You have until midnight. It doesn't get much more Cinderella-like than that.
And you know what Cinderella did at midnight? Ended up face down in a puddle when her pumpkin exploded with nothing but a shoeful of mice to show for her troubles? Well, yes, but not before going to a magical ball and falling in love with a handsome prince. And you, Sadie Winters, are going to that ball. I can't, I say, even though my heart rate has sped up at the thought. It's not even about Ebony. What about the others? I've worked with most of these shopkeepers for years. They're my friends. I can't let the side down. Oh, yes, you can. Scarlett sounds so much like a pantomime character that I ready myself for a chorus of "It's behind you." And when I push away from the window and turn to look at her, she's got a mask dangling from her fingers. Because absolutely no one is going to know it's you. They call it a masquerade ball for a reason. You'll be anonymous. Now, I have a hairdressing client this evening, so get over here and let me work my magic on you because you are going to that ball. We're going to make you into the most Cinderella-y Cinderella whoever's Cinderella-rid. Just call me your fairy godmother. Well, cousin. Fairy god cousin. Minus a magic wand and any unusual fascination with pumpkins. What have you done to me? It's the first time in over 2 hours that Scarlett's let me look into a mirror, and I look like a totally different person. Gone is my mass of blonde, messy curls, and it's been replaced by straightened hair which looks so much longer than it is. Usually my curls are a springy mass around my shoulders, but having straightened them, my hair is long and sleek and reaches halfway down my back. Scarlett's added some brighter blonde clip-in hair extensions to liven up my natural dark blonde colour, and they blend in perfectly with my now straight hair. My plain, unmemorable face is glowing with makeup. Every little acne scar, every line and every pore has been concealed, smoothed over and perfected. I never wear makeup. It's too much hassle. But Scarlett's been dabbing and patting at my face for ages, and she's used highlighters and blusher that make me look like I have actual cheekbones, and a mix of eyeshadow shades from brown to grey that surround my eyes and make them pop with perfectly flicked dark lines of liquid eyeliner. While Scarlett stands behind me, adding the last few sparkly pins to my half-updo, I pick up the mask and hold it to my face. It covers from my forehead down to just under my nose, with holes for the eyes and nostrils. It's made of a beautiful light blue leather, with navy blue swirls, silver accents and the dramatic shape of raven's wings form the edges. We do the kind of occasion wear that might require a matching mask sometimes, so we always have a few samples lying around the shop, but I never imagined that I would have occasion to wear one. No one will recognise me, that's for certain. Even without the mask, I am a distant relation to my usual drab self. I wear nothing but oversized shirts and trousers with lots of pockets at work, and rarely manage to get my hair under control. Guilt nibbles at my ankles about ignoring Ebony's strict orders, though, and about Ever After Street itself. This is the furthest thing from a united front. What about the other shopkeepers? Your mum's right. We have to protest against the sale of the castle. It's just a ball. Going doesn't mean you agree with the supermarket buying it. Like when you were a child and someone's mum made them invite everyone in the class to their birthday party. You didn't have to like the kid, but you liked birthday cake, and that was as good a reason as any to go. I don't think there's going to be any birthday cake there. She huffs so hard that it blows her pink-tipped fringe up from her forehead. You know what I mean, Sade. You've loved that castle since we were little. It's been nice to see a light on in there this week. It's like the castle is alive again, like it's been sitting there forgotten and now someone's remembered it. And instead of bringing it back to life, they're going to kill it. I add, when I think about the real reason behind the glitz of the ball. I think we need a quick word about the sentience of old buildings. It isn't alive. The lie is probably to deter burglars now they've taken down the blockades. Oh, unless it's a prince. I laugh. I don't think it's a prince, Scar. Oh, you never know, do ya? It's the kind of fairy tale castle that should have a prince. Maybe you'll meet him tonight. A literal Prince Charming. Pretty sure Prince Charming neither exists nor hangs out at fairy tale masquerade balls in the lower Wye Valley. That would be far too cliché. Besides, our only princes are Wills and Harry, and neither of them do anything for me. I shudder at the thought. If anyone is staying there, it's more likely to be the ghost of some long-dead Viscount returned from the grave to show his displeasure at the castle being sold. Whoever it is, he's going to see you naked if you don't get a move on. She checks the time on her phone. Oh, heck, I'm going to be late for my client. Can you get dressed by yourself? I nod. Of course, go. You know what dress you're going to wear? I haven't stopped thinking about it since the moment I saw the invitation. Hidden in my flat upstairs are many dresses, ones that I sew in my spare time. Dresses that I dream of filling the Cinderella shop with one day. Fairy tale dresses that will make any woman feel like a princess, the opposite of what I have to make under Ebony's instructions. A hidden collection that my aunt must never know about. Good. Scarlett steps back and we both stare at the mirror. I look nothing like myself. I've never looked this good in my life before. I wouldn't be out of place if I really was Cinderella going to the prince's ball and a fairy godmother really had given me a magical makeover. You look so much like your mum, it's unreal, Scarlett murmurs. This is just how I remember her, effortlessly glamorous, like she belonged in a fairy tale. You've been working on me for hours. I'm not sure that counts as effortless glamour. We both laugh, but neither of our eyes leaves the mirror. How much I look like my mum and how much trouble Scarlett has gone to so I can make tonight are making tears threaten to rise up. But I can't cry and ruin this makeup. One thing my mum never had was a fairy god-cousin, though. I turn around and hug Scarlett. Thank you. Something magical is going to happen tonight. She squeezes me back. I can feel it in my bones. The only magical thing is going to be somehow getting away with this. There's nothing to get away with. All you've got to do is be back by midnight. Not a problem. You know me, I'm the furthest thing from a fancy ball type of person. I'll probably be bored stiff in 20 minutes and come home immediately. Even though I'm trying to play it down in front of Scarlett, and not let on that my heart hasn't stopped pitter-pattering since she held up that mask, I also have no idea how true this is. Am I a fancy ball type of person? I've never been to one to find out, and can't quite hide the excitement that tonight I will. Not if you meet a handsome prince. At least that's one thing we can be sure definitely won't happen tonight. And I thought you believed in fairy tales. I do. I mean, I did. I used to, once. But everyone does when they're younger, and then you grow up and find yourself stuck in an endless un-merry-go-round of disenchanting dresses, a pokey flat, and trying to make life what you thought it would be, and never quite succeeding. Fairy tales are a nice thought, but they don't happen in real life, no matter how much you want them to. Never mind all that. You're going to be late for work, and I've got a dress to get into without knocking a hair out of place or smudging this makeup. You look beautiful, Sadie. Have a wonderful night. I will. I promise. When Scarlett leaves with her bag of hairdressing gear over her shoulder, I slip outside and go around the corner to the stairs up to my flat. It's bursting with dresses, so the choices are endless, but my mind is set on just one. About 3 months ago, I couldn't sleep, so I sat down at my mum's old Singer sewing machine in the flat with no plan in mind. The clock on the wall said it was 9 p.m, so I had plenty of time before I was too tired to keep my eyes open. I used my own measurements, and before I knew it, I'd made this beautiful dress. When I'd looked out of the window, the sun was coming up, but the clock still said it was 9 p.m. Unbeknown to me, it had stopped, and it made the night feel endless, and I barely remembered time passing. It was like waking up in the morning and finding elves had nipped in and sewn the dress overnight. My mum always used to say it was like that for her too, and for the first time that night, it felt right. Sewing that dress felt like what I was supposed to be doing, like something else was driving my fingers, where everything went perfectly and there wasn't a single mistake or broken needle or snag or bunched up bobbin thread. I always feel close to my mum when I'm sewing, but that night, it was as if she was right there beside me. I could almost see her sitting there, like when she'd sat down beside me and shown me how to sew when I was little. And this dress felt extra special because of that. I gave it the finishing touches over the next few nights, and I should have put it on the shop floor as a display piece, but the thought of Ebony ridiculing it and shoving it to the back when no one could see it was unbearable. So I put it in my wardrobe and tried not to think about how good it felt to make, and how that is the way I want to spend my life. Not sewing barely their cat suits for celebrities that even the Z-list hasn't heard of. I take the ball gown from the wardrobe and run my fingers over the blue silk. I thought of the sky while I was making it, a mix of day and night, a simple off-the-shoulder bodice, sewn with light blue and navy blue satin that seamlessly blend together, stiff boning in the corset and hook and eye fastenings. But the full skirt is what makes it spectacular. The bottom hem skims the ground, and layers of ivory tulle and pale blue chiffon make up the first petticoat. The second petticoat is made of organza in every shade of blue from light to dark. Then there are layers of iridescent organza that's so delicate it's almost transparent. There's a third skirt which is made of a heavier silk in the colour of a pastel rainbow, and the outer skirt is navy silk organza and covered in Swarovski crystals, so it sparkles with every movement. I slip it on, and it's by far the most beautiful thing I've ever worn. I feel instantly like a princess. This is how my mum's clients must have felt all those years ago, and how I wish clients of the Cinderella shop would feel now. A dress like this suspends all worries. While I'm wearing something like this, there is nothing but me and the night ahead. There can't be anything wrong in the life of a girl who owns a dress like this. It makes a swishing sound with every movement as I spritz on my mum's favourite perfume, a little way of taking her with me everywhere I go, and make my way back downstairs to the shop. Not even Cinderella herself could walk in glass slippers, so I borrow a pair of shoes from the shop shelves. The Cinderella shop gets custom shoes made by a Dutch shoemaker to match our dresses, but we've always got a few pairs in stock for display and to give clients an idea of the options, and a few of them happen to be in my size. I choose a pair of midnight blue satin slip-ons with a lace overlay, diamante accents and a 2-inch wedge heel, and slide my feet into them. And then I use one of the brightly lit changing room mirrors and hold the mask up to my face and tie the ribbons into a bow at the back of my head to keep it in place. The woman staring back at me from the mirror could have stepped out of a Hollywood remake of any Cinderella movie. My masked face doesn't look like mine. My sparkly, half-up hairdo could rival Belle's in the ballroom dance scene, and my dress looks like it came straight from the wand of a fairy godmother. Blending in is usually my speciality, but tonight, for once, maybe it would be nice to stand out. This is the most magical thing I've ever done. I should probably feel guilty, but for the first time in years, I'm putting myself first. And the one place I want to be tonight is at that ball. Chapter 3. What was I thinking? I don't fit in at a fancy event like this. I make dresses for people who go to balls like this, but I am not one of those people. I'm awkward and out of place. The castle is as majestic as I'd always hoped it was. Round towers, blue conical roofs, regal turrets and shining spires, an imposing clock tower looking down on us. But I barely had a moment to take it all in as, along with every other ball attendee, once we'd shuffled along the walled stone walkway and handed out invitations to the guard at the gatehouse, we were funneled into a grand entrance hall and then sent to one of the 2 ballrooms that had been opened up for the night. The portcullis gate was raised, and I'd wanted to stand there and appreciate the very spot where my mum and dad met. But there were too many people, both guests and hired staff for the night, herding us through like sheep. And now everyone's split off into cliques, and I'm standing at the edge of a ginormous ballroom on my own with a glass of flat champagne that's unappealing in every way. How does everyone know each other? Have they all come together? Doesn't that defeat the object of a masked, anonymous ball? The makeup, the dress, and the mask make me look like I belong here, but inside I'm swirling with that familiar last to be picked for the school sports team feeling all over again, and I wish for the confidence to simply walk over, insert myself into a group, and join in with their laughs and conversations. Everyone else looks so natural, as though it's a regular occurrence to be quaffing champagne in a castle. But unless they're secretly royalty, surely they're people just like me, who have never done this before and aren't quite sure how to do it now. The only good part of the night so far has been seeing my dresses in action. That's something you don't ever get to see as a dressmaker. You make beautiful gowns for special events in other people's lives, but you're never a part of the event itself. You take measurements, you sew until your fingers are blistered, you adjust and fit the dress to each person's exact measurements, and you wave goodbye at the shop doorway. In the case of the Cinderella shop, and my aunt's return policy, sometimes you get the dress back afterwards, because the wearer hasn't found love and you have to refund it, and then it goes to live on the rails out the back, because no one knows what to do with the returned dresses. But tonight, I've already brushed past a few of the dresses I've made in recent weeks, and each time it reminds me of how lucky I am to get to make dream dresses for a living, and how devastating it will be if the castle is sold to a supermarket. Supermarkets have their own clothing ranges these days, and if they're selling ready-made dresses for 20 quid, no one is going to come down the roads and commission a custom-made one for hundreds of pounds. The Cinderella shop will lose even more trade that it's already losing. We won't be able to carry on. What will I do? That shop is part of my DNA. I have no identity without it. I've never worked anywhere else, and I don't know how to imagine a future where it's gone. I take a breath and force myself to focus on the present moment rather than worrying about what's to come. The ballroom is like a football pitch, but bigger. And you can't help but wonder how many chandeliers one room needs. There's a 13-foot one hanging from the centre of the ceiling, and smaller chandeliers forming a circle around it, and I pity the cleaner who had to get those free of cobwebs this week. Everything is the sumptuous deep colours of maroon or plum, and all the furniture and the fittings are made of velvet and tinged with gold, and there are even stained glass windows in the domed ceiling. There's a live orchestra playing classical music in this room, and couples are dancing together, twirling around the dance floor, further pushing home my loneliness. I wish Scarlett hadn't had to work tonight so I'd have someone to talk to. Who did I think I was going to meet here? Prince Charming? A handsome stranger to dance the night away with? If only real life worked like that. Handsome strangers have been scarce for me. In fact, most handsome strangers have turned out to be frogs in disguise, and I've long since given up on the idea of Prince Charming actually existing. The other half of the party guests were siphoned into a second ballroom on the opposite side of the main entrance hall, and I back out into the grand hall, intending to go in search of more single, awkward people like me. But I can't help stopping to look around in awe. I didn't fully appreciate it on the way in. But now it's empty apart from a steady stream of waiters coming from a staff kitchen, the door to which is hidden under the grand double staircase leading to the higher levels of the castle. The ceiling is neck-straining to look up at, and painted with a Cherubs in the Sky mural, and the imposing hall is lined by suits of armour that almost definitely come to life at night. If I spoke, there would be an echo. The wall to the left is covered with once luxurious but now faded wallpaper with peeling edges, and there are rectangles of grime around empty spaces of unfaded wallpaper, as though it once held portraits that have since been taken down. The grand stairway is roped off, but it seems so much more interesting than another ballroom, and the rope isn't much of a barrier. So before I know it, I've hiked my dress up and stepped over it. I'm not doing any harm, I tell myself as I make sure no one's seen me and hurry upwards. It's not as if anyone's going to be up here. I just want a little look around before the castle is gone for good. At the top of the stairs, there's a balustrade balcony circling the lower floor from above, closed doorways to multiple rooms, and hallways that lead further into the castle with rich wood-panelled walls and old-fashioned but luxurious carpets. Everything smells of polish and cleaning products, and Ebony would be disappointed to know there isn't a bat in sight, not even in the furthest crevices of the high ceilings. I don't know which way to go and suspect I'll be wishing for a trail of breadcrumbs to find my way back, but I follow one of the hallways and come to another set of dark wood stairs that twists around and seemingly goes back on itself, and I follow that upwards too, telling myself I best not go much further. No one specifically said the rest of the castle was out of bounds, but one might deduce that from the rope barrier. Maybe I do belong here after all. No one ever told us where the toilets are. If anyone catches me, I could say I was looking for them and lost my way. Getting lost in this place is definitely a reasonable excuse. Even the staircases feel luxurious, covered with carpet that's been freshly cleaned, but no amount of cleaning can hide the moth-eaten holes and frayed edges from the years of being left to rot here. It's so long ago that Mum told me about it. The memories are like childhood stories, long forgotten but coming back in fragmented parts, like a favourite old book that you read again as an adult. I remember her saying the Viscount and Viscountess had separate quarters in the castle. I remember thinking how posh it was to have an entire suite of rooms all to yourself, so many rooms that you go an entire day without seeing your husband, despite the fact he lived in the same building, but apparently they always reconnected by taking supper together and sharing a bedroom, from which all talk of work was banned. When I was young, I thought it was romantic, but now it seems like it must have been a lonely way to live. Surely the point of a relationship is to have someone to face the world with, not someone you only have a brief catch-up with once a day. At the top of this staircase is a heavy-looking door with Gothic-style silver hinges. Unlike every other door I've passed, it's ajar, and I can't resist pushing it open and peeking inside. It's a library. Well, a study, maybe. It's too small to be a library, but the walls are shelves of books from floor to ceiling, and there's a shiny mahogany desk and a well-worn leather armchair with a reading lamp beside it in one corner. The threadbare carpet looks as though it's been traipsed across many times, and there's even a fireplace with a mantelpiece above it that holds a bust of William Shakespeare and a candelabra that I'm almost certain is Lumiere from Beauty and the Beast. Something tingles at the back of my neck. There's something about this room that feels as magical as the Beast's castle. It's still got the glamour of downstairs. Not many people have bookshelves edged with gold leaf or a ceiling you'd need a crane to reach, but there's a warm and cosy feel to it. It smells of the papery scent of old books, and I can imagine an elderly Viscount sitting in the armchair, his slippered feet on the footstool in front of the crackling fire, an open book on his lap as he dozes in his favoured armchair, like everyone's favourite grandfather. It's a room that feels tucked away, as if there should be more to it, and it's cut off somehow. It makes me wonder if it's the quintessential castle cliché, and one of these books is a decoy, and pulling the right one will reveal a hidden room. I trace my fingers along the recently cleaned spines, trying to work out which one could lead to a false wall and a secret room. I pull a few out at random. Old tomes of research, poetry and novels from times gone by, but all of them turn out to be exactly what they look like. Books. I thought castle might be a key word, so I'm just pulling back a copy of I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith when there's a noise of surprise and I spin around to see a man standing in the doorway. What the hell are you doing in here? He sounds angry, but his voice is unsteady, like it's debatable which one of us gave the other the biggest shock. I'm not doing any harm. I was looking for the toilets and... I trail off, the excuse sounding pathetic even to my own ears. He's a guest, like me. He's dressed in a sharp, charcoal-coloured suit with a burgundy tie that matches his china mask. Burgundy on one side, white on the other, with intricate silver swirls where the colours meet in a diagonal line, and silver edging around the eyes and sides of the mask. It covers his face from the forehead to under his nose, and he's holding a glass of champagne, like the one I've just put down on the desk. His mouth is set in a disapproving thin line, and his eyes take me in for a moment. Let me guess, you're looking for the way to the West Wing to see if there's a prince who's been turned into a beast? No, but now you've suggested it. I meet his eyes across the room, so serious that they are almost glowing with annoyance, and I think the best thing to do is make a joke.